Rain hammered the roof of the isolated countryside house, the kind that sat too far from neighbors and too close to things people didn't talk about after dark. Arjun sat on the worn sofa beneath a dim lamp, staring at the empty spot where his wife Meera used to fall asleep reading. Since her death, grief had turned the place into a museum of memories he couldn't bear to touch. The silence felt unnatural tonight, thick, expectant, as though the house itself was holding its breath. A strange tension hung in the air, the kind that made the skin prickle without reason. Then came the knock, a soft, deliberate tap that didn't match the rhythm of the storm. Arjun stiffened. Nobody visited this late. Not in this weather. Not out here. Miles from town. "Hello," he called, forcing his voice to steady. The wind answered at first. Then, faintly, a woman's voice whispered through the door, trembling like it came from somewhere cold. "Arjun, please open the door." His heartbeat faltered. That voice, that tone, it sounded just like Meera, down to the quiet plea she used on nights she couldn't sleep. He opened the door an inch, expecting the storm to rush in. But the porch was empty. No car, no footprints, only the scent of wet soil drifting in. A deep, earthy smell that clawed at old memories of Meera's burial. He stepped back, chilled. "Meera?" he whispered, hating how desperate it sounded. The lamp flickered violently, throwing jagged shadows around the room. A breath of freezing air brushed the side of his neck. Then her voice, closer this time, almost against his skin, murmured, "Why did you leave me down there?" Arjun's breath broke into a gasp. When he turned, muddy footprints had begun forming across the hardwood floor, one after another, water dripping onto the boards. They weren't his. They weren't humanly steady either. Some dragged, some staggered, as though belonging to someone who hadn't walked in a long time. The trail stretched down the hall toward the bedroom he and Meera had shared. A slow, shuffling sound followed it, heavy and uneven. Arjun felt something ancient and cold twist inside him. Whatever had entered wasn't just a memory of his wife. It was something that had climbed out of the ground, still wanting him. Arjun's hands shook as he followed the muddy footprints down the narrow hallway. The house smelled of wet earth and decay, a scent that clawed at his stomach and memory at the same time. Every step toward the bedroom felt like walking deeper into a nightmare he couldn't wake from. The moonlight spilled through the curtains, casting the bed in a pale, trembling glow. It looked as if someone had just left it. Sheets twisted, pillows dented, the space still warm with absence. "This can't be real," he muttered to himself, voice hoarse, trying to force logic into a room that no longer obeyed it. A creak came from the corner of the room, low and deliberate. Arjun froze, chest tight, eyes darting to the wardrobe where shadows pooled like black water. "Why did you leave me?" A voice, soft, trembling, impossibly familiar, rose from behind the wood. It was Meera, but wrong, stretched, thin, distant yet achingly close. "I didn't leave you. I tried to save you," he whispered, voice cracking. The shadow shifted slowly across the floor, stretching toward him, dragging the darkness like ink. "Then why did you let me rot?" it hissed. The accusation cut deeper than fear ever could. The bed groaned, dipping beneath an invisible weight. Arjun felt it before he saw it. A cold, damp hand brushing against his, fingers curling around his with a possessive insistence. For a heartbeat, he smelled her. Meera's jasmine, sweet and delicate, before it soured into the rank tang of grave soil. "You promised," the voice murmured, trembling with both anger and longing. "You promised I would never be alone." "I wasn't ready to lose you," he whispered back, barely able to stand. "I wake every night hoping you'll just be gone." The hand tightened, unrelenting. Suddenly, the wardrobe door burst open with a violent crash. Something inside shifted, scraping wood and metal as if claws or bones raked for escape. The unseen hand on his wrist tightened sharply, freezing his skin. Panic surged through him, raw and burning. He tore free, stumbling backward as the bed convulsed violently, sheets twisting like a living thing crawling toward him. "Don't run," Meera's voice pleaded, warped now into a desperate rasp. "Stay with me." But Arjun fled, slamming the bedroom door, heart hammering. Whatever had returned with her wasn't just memory. It was alive, and it wanted him. Arjun didn't sleep that night. Every shadow in the house seemed to twitch and breathe around him. Every creak a footstep he couldn't see. By dawn, he felt hollow, as if the storm outside had seeped into his bones. The living room, once familiar, was unrecognizable. Wet footprints marked the floor, trailing from the front door to the bedroom, then looping back, as if someone had been pacing endlessly, waiting. "It's just grief, he muttered, though the house didn't answer with logic, only with silence that pressed against his skull. Then came the whispers, soft at first, curling around corners, brushing the edge of hearing like silk across skin. "Arjun." They called his name in Meera's voice, trembling, pleading, sometimes scolding. He followed them down the hall, past rooms he hadn't dared enter since her death. Each whisper seemed to come from inside the walls themselves, behind the plaster and wallpaper, echoing with intimacy and rage. "Stop! Stop this!" he yelled, voice shaking. But the whispers only laughed, a sound like wind through dead branches. He reached the bedroom door, frozen, trembling with dread. The whispers converged into a single, sharp hiss. "I'm still here. You can't leave me." The doorknob rattled violently under his hand, though no one was outside. Heart hammering, he pushed the door open and saw the bed stripped bare. Mattress sagging unnaturally, and there, pressed into the corner, crouched a shadowy figure that smelled of damp soil and decay. Her eyes glimmered in the dim light, hollow yet burning with the heat of accusation. "I waited for you," the voice said softly. "Every night, Arjun stumbled back, tripping over his own fear. Meera, you're not real. You can't be real, he gasped. But the figure moved closer, slow, deliberate, the dragging sound of her limbs scraping the floorboards. He felt a pull in his chest, as if the room itself was dragging him toward her. Desperation clawed at him. He realized, with sickening clarity, that grief had opened a door, and Meera had walked through it. She was here, in the flesh, or what remained, and she wouldn't let him leave, ever. Arjun's hands trembled as he slammed the front door shut behind him. The storm outside, now a frantic roar matching the chaos in his chest. The house, silent and brooding, seemed to pulse with her presence. He could hear it, the faint dragging, whispering, calling him back inside. Every instinct screamed to run, to escape this nightmare, but his grief anchored him, twisting fear into something heavier, something almost magnetic. He couldn't leave her, even now, even knowing she wasn't truly alive. In the hallway, the footprints reappeared, slick with mud and forming a circle that led back to the bedroom. Arjun's heart pounded as he stepped forward, drawn by a force he didn't understand. Meera, please, he whispered, voice cracking. But the walls answered only with a low, guttural hum vibrating with her anguish. The air grew thick and cold, wrapping around him like a shroud. And then he saw her, half in shadow, half in pale, wet light, sitting on the edge of the bed, hair plastered to her face, eyes empty yet full of longing. I waited, she said, voice soft and brittle, the words slicing straight into his chest. Her hands rose slowly, reaching for him, trembling with both despair and accusation. I can't go, not without you. Arjun wanted to resist, to flee, but the pull was relentless. Each step closer, the smell of damp earth and jasmine filled the air, suffocating him. When her hands touched his, cold and wet, a shiver ran through him and the room seemed to tilt. Reality bending around the intensity of her desire to stay, to bind him to her. The last thing Arjun saw before the world went black was her face, twisted between love and fury, inches from his own. And then, the house swallowed them both. Walls creaking, floors groaning, rain pounding, while outside, the storm continued, indifferent. No neighbor came, no passerby noticed. Only the house knew, and it waited patiently for the next soul who might stumble into its grief-fueled trap, where love refused to rest, and death had no authority.